Hello and welcome, as it is the 9th day of June, or the completion of that day, 2020. My name is Derek, and this is the Money Charts channel. Like always, all bets, trades, and of the like is within each's own risk and their own reward. And if you took the bet that I gave on my last video, it was a loser. I'm going to talk a little bit about fantasy and League of Legends at the conclusion of this. I'm going to go over silver, gold, and Bitcoin. Okay, so and I'm also going to talk about a baseball, Korean baseball. So I will give another pick for tonight, or what will actually be for tomorrow morning. If I'm going to talk about more at 5 o'clock in the morning for me. Anyway, that'll be the end of the video for this one. I drew these lines in this one here at 18.5 quite a while ago. And as it left the 18 average, leaving it the day after May the 7th and really breaking out on the 14th, it had a concise move without even going to the 18 to this line. And a Pierce Extra. And what has it done since then? Well, there has been about 5-6 days. It has came down to the 18 average of lows. And well, in yesterday or today's session, which is the green, actually, no, this is today's session. In yesterday's session, the 8th, Monday, the price action left from the lows, but it didn't rally too much. And pause day today on Tuesday, and just still at this area in here. And if you're in a situation, it breaks below, and well, I can even just go like a 3-day chart, and well, now maybe might meet up with the 18, which would actually meet up with the current level of support, and actually might be a better indicator to state, is this move that's coming into play a failed one? Another way of putting it is, if it breaks down below the support, that's got a lot of room. It can go down in a concise leg lower and still make a significant higher low on two different spots. The low down here, and of course the low in here. And if we find support where we came from, resistance between 1570-ish, 15 and 2/3, 15 and a half even, up to that of 16 and a third, well, that would be coming back to where we came from, the lower end of the 18 average of lows here, maybe a small pierce below it and such. And if you look at it from the weekly perspective, the 18 average of lows is rising, especially if it takes a couple more weeks. This line would match up with this upper area, and again, would be another part of the correctionary phase. But we can see within this line that it hit this resistance point from February 24th. January the 6th, it had resistance there. September 23rd, it had resistance there at the start of September. It was a long time before then, but we had some back in 2017 at the start of the year. At the end of 2016, a Pierce Extra above it. Before then, it came up to that point in 2015. It's had a lot of resistance points at that level. If we break out, this thing could have a significant move. Now, it first needs to get above this really 21 area. But if it gets above this, it should be a concise, fast move to 21. Now, whether we resist there, maybe we spend a few days going sideways, come back to maybe 18 change. This area has support, because any clear break of resistance is what is resistance now. I'd be looking as a level for that of support. Sort of like here on the daily term time frame, if we break down, this previous level of support is now what I'd be deeming as a level of possible levels of support. Let's take a look at this on the longer term time frame. And now as I look at the lines, these are just lines that I drew in. These are not Fibonacci lines now that I look at it. And within it, it's just a key range. And it is big within it. But if we can see in here, this I like to call this empty space, Fibonacci retracement mode, which would be from this low here at around 12 to the high at around 50. We'd be looking to just have some concise, interesting moves. I move up to like 28, 30 area. Wouldn't be a surprise if it happened like in a matter of like within a month or 2 or 3 kind of deal. If it has this break and you have large size green candles, well, that's normal on that situation. As it's playing in within the 18, as you can see, it's been still a lot of sideways action. Every single time since it's bottomed in here, it's attempted to go above or below the 18. It has always had to retrace back. So it got above it here in 2016, and then it corrects it. Then it breaks down below, but just for a little bit, holds it here, break out above, and then break out down below, and now it's barely gotten above again. And I do like how you have this quick little, okay, the potential for this failed breakdown, fast move higher, as I've been stating for a while, does seem to be a live situation. And that's for possibility, or probability odds being greater than, or you can just put that in your probability. I would put that in my probability odds as in higher chances. So if it's normally whatever it is, like say 2%, then you're gonna have a big move. Well, it might be closer to 20 than 2% now. As far as gold is concerned, it's been in retracement mode, and it's pretty much done. As we had this high at 19, a little bit hair above 1900 near the end of 2011, and these lows around the start of 2016. So from the lows to this high, as it got by this level of resistance, we can see it's had a clear, concise move. It's had one little support test here on the month of March, and it was very tiny because it just, actually what I want to do is I'll show how tiny it is. I'm just going to draw a line like that. And just show, when we look at this on the short term, we'll see how little it went below the 18 average of lows. But a clear, concise break. At some point, this run's got to come to an end. But that some point could be now. It could be at this previous high. And it could not even resist this high. It could be like 2,400 or 3,000 before this concise run comes into play. If the resistance line gets broke, I'm not going to show it, but if we break the resistance that connects these highs, then the probability of what's this is a 7% day, we have a 6% days, well, those will be in the wherever you want, they'd be smaller than what would come. Having 10, 15% days, maybe $200 up days, $300 days, or months rather, or periods. Having like 20, 30, 50% months. I was even thinking the gold doesn't make 7% a day when I looked at that. But yeah, so that's, it's in that little mode. And given the current situation, everything going on, it really shouldn't be that much of a surprise if it does have its good break. So this is where the 18 average of lows was on the monthly term. So therefore, it broke down below it, and it spent about 4 or 5 days below it. And then when it got above it on March the 23rd, it convincingly has gotten and stayed above it. And since then, we've been able to notice that this previous level of resistance that was hit 3 different times. We did it on February 24th. We hit it again March the 9th, and even, we'll say the day of March 24th, because these 2 days go in the same time frame. So 3 different times it had rallies to that point. And then when it corrected, this time here, when it got to it, it broke it. You could almost make a case where this was it kind of is, an inverted head and shoulders pattern with the left, the head, and the right shoulder here. And in this case, you really haven't had any type of consensus move, because what a lot of people do is they'll draw a distance from this level for a potential target. Or maybe they might do like a portion of it, like maybe, but at least a move of this size you'd think would come into play. And it really has had just the smallest noticeable move you can. And in doing such, has established major resistance at about 1760. In turn, it's done even more so in establishing support all of these times, where of course the 3 times it has resisted, and it's been in this range for quite some time. 1, 2, even this one counts maybe as 3, 4, 5. Are we going to go up and do another 6th one? I don't know, but when we break this level of support, retracement from this low to this high, and we'll fill some of this spot in here. But if we break the level of resistance, as I've been mentioning in the long term, the previous high is 1920, and who knows what kind of resistance we're going to have amongst that point. Let's move on next to that of Bitcoin. And I'm going to show it first with the Fibonacci lines, which is extremely, this 9,800 level is so interesting right now. As far as where we are within the band, a huge run higher, and we can see that's pretty much been sideways. It went below it here once, but obviously didn't break down from it. Above it, and it's so far been a successful correction with not much room below that. I'm going to do the same thing I did with gold, but not on this market. I'll go to Bitstamp in a bit. But what I want to show is this daily chart. We can see here at this line. I mean, this is just, I don't know what word, it's noticeable. It's wow on how much it's been resisted. I mean, it pierced below it on May the 30th, but had a convincing instant rejection break above on June the 1st, rejecting it totally the day after, not even supporting that level, going back below this and into the 18. Pretty much where the 18 average of closes has been magnificent support, and a little above it for the most part. Either way, it's been within this 18 band. It's been showing a lot of congestion at the 18 highs now for the past week. But it's also within the resistance line. just so much at it. And the more times you test it, you can do ascending triangles. Usually these type of patterns of indecision or these type of stuff do resolve themselves within the current trend, and this current trend from this move has been higher on so many levels that it really wouldn't be a surprise to me if this thing, same thing with gold as I mentioned, or was it gold or silver rather, where up to $21 level, where I mean it should have a quick move up to here. What kind of resistance would be very interesting? Again, maybe we come back to 98.14 as support. Maybe it congested and resists maybe around 14.7 or whatever for a while, this area. And maybe there's no resistance. We have a concise, fast move to around 20K. And again, we'll see. It's a big question mark on how you're going to move from there. Because if you look at the monthly chart again, I'm going to put the Bitstamp index up next. I mean, this is the same thing as, okay, so maybe it is resistance. Maybe it comes back to like 10,000, 11,000, which in the grand scheme of things, having the market go down like 40% from like 20K to 11K is like just child's play or nothing much at all, in the sense of huge run higher, correctionary mode. Huge run higher, and it's been this longer correctionary mode right now, of course, with a lot of this sideways action. So I'm going to draw the 18 average of, that's just a terrible drawing. I just want to make sure it's in the area of such. Close enough. So we look at this on the daily. This was the spot in which on, the monthly, this is the rise, or the rising, the flattish 18 average of highs, and there's a pierce below it on the Rudy Gobert incident, which is the COVID-19 and all that stuff. But since it's been in retracement mode, it has, looks like with a micro pierce below, if even that, retraced back 100% of its move. Because this line around 10.4 is the high from, or the area of the high from November, at the high of the start of the year, and then the one that happened on this failed break higher. This high is 429. Let's just see some of these numbers on here. This is 495, so a micro pierce below as it comes into play. Within the shorter term time frame on this, it's a very, very interesting situation, but it seems very live right now. And what we're going to do is we're going to plant a little plant. It's not like it's a garden, but whatever. I'll place a horizontal ray in this area of where we've had general resistance as it came up to it at 1500 hours on the 7th of June. It has established a lot of support down in here, but as it got up to this 18 average of highs this morning and it's just stayed there, we have seen that starting at 1500 hours and 16, it's had a significant break, and not quite to this level, but the 18 average starting to go higher. And then even this move at 18, you see something like this. You see a nice instant rejection of the sell-off. And of the rally for that matter, but the market rallies up high, then boom, sells off, and even back to like even lower, like lower than this sort of support. Like you think if it's going to be like not so wild or vicious to the downside, it'd be like this area of resistance, like okay, 97.33 area, but no, it went down lower, but it immediately closed above this area. So far last hour, it held that move. We're halfway into this one, still continues to hold nicely above the 18 average. And for this, I didn't look at the short term on this, so I'm just gonna look at this on Binance and see what this looks like on the shorter term, 4 minute. So this instant rejection here, this is the one that happened at 1756, which is forcing me to look at this on the 1 minute. So at 1 minute it went down like 3/5 of 1%. But it obviously, from the move, it had its rally, which is usually lower high, pullback, higher low, check mark. And then we have retracement from this high to this low. As we can see, as it comes up to this high, it gets above it, and then as it does it, it holds this. This support represents this resistance. And then for this entire time, it established a long level, and it still continues to battle within it, of course, as it moves forward. So that will do it for such. Now I'm going to talk just a little bit about fantasy and such. League of Legends is an interesting game. I gave out a selection. I didn't realize a quote-unquote new season was starting. They're going moving into summer. I think that would have been one reason why the odds were kind of fishy, to say the least. And what I did was I predicted one team to win 2-0 in a series. And, I mean, I'm just loading up, this is like where you can actually watch the game. So it's almost like having, like in hockey, I'd actually have to pay for this, and actually just search for interesting triple plays early just for something to do. But yeah, it's pretty cool to be able to watch these games. And yesterday I had no idea how a game ended, and now I have a pretty good idea after watching a little bit of it today. So I'm just trying to get an edge, of course, into the fantasy aspect, as I am doing so in Korean baseball. And I think there's going to be a high-scoring game on the 5:30 a.m. Eastern game between the Dojin Bears and the NC Dino. So over the posted total of about probably like 11, 12 runs. I believe that NC Dinos are going to score at least 10. And it's maybe about like an 11-6 kind of a game. I think that, and that's just a whatever quick prediction, but it's been very interesting how it's waking up very early in the morning now, because a lot of those games start at, well, the League of Legends starts at 5, but I mean, lineups are posted like close to a day in advance, which is very awesome. But Korean baseball, I don't get the lineups until the last half hour, 40 minutes before the game starts. So I have to, for a game at 5:30, get up for 5 o'clock and then post the players in the games that I want to, go through different strategies, see where the possible edges were. I figured there was a decent sized edge this morning, and there was. I didn't put as much stakes on based on my fact that I was losing like 8 days in a row, and I was having to control my risk-reward management. But I did manage to get a good victory in the edge played in form. And I'm thinking the same thing again in that, as I just do things like check out different statistics. These are the probable games. 38% chance of rain, that's big. I don't want to play anyone in that game. Another game, 34% chance of rain. So for fantasy, I'm basically liking a little bit of this Eric Jokic guy. I think he's pretty darn near good. I also think that Han, these guys are terrible. So this picture here is a very live picture, I think, for a very good game. Also of note, too, there's one more other game, too. Who was it? It's Latte. Where's the Latte? Yeah, Latte. The picture on Han, he lets in a lot of home runs. Or is it? No, it's yeah. He lets in a lot of home runs. So, because he lets a lot, guys like Machado, and there's a lot of Korean guys with the last name Kim, Lee, and Park. It's kind of crazy. There's a Lee here, a Kim here, Lee here, Kim, Park. Usually more than that. Park, Lee, some few Choi's as well. I mean, there's 3 Choi's on one team. I mean, and then there's just some names, and there's just one on NC Dinos. Last name Na. Where is he? Right there. Sung Bum Na. He's a very good player, though. Right now he's hitting 339, got 10 home runs, and 28 driven in. He went 3 for 5 with 2 home runs, a double, 4 RBIs, 2 runs scored, a walk, 2 strikeouts during Friday's 13-2 win over the Eagles. This is one of the more impressive teams in the league. And yeah, I think these guys are going to score over 10 runs in today's game, but they'll probably win. I'm projecting around a 10-6, 11-6 kind of game. So when we look at the over-under for it, there should be a total, and I'm not betting it, I mean, they have weird numbers, but it's going to be somewhere around like 10.5 or 11. But over that posted total, I think, is a very, very good play as well. And Drew Rodzinski, I think, is... I don't think he's that. I think he's a good pitcher, but the statistics say he's like one of the best pitchers out there. But he's actually, every single one of his games but one, he has played amongst the worst hitters in the league. And the one team, which was the Twins, the LG Twins, that he played against, he struggled against them. Let's see if we get the game logs on here. Yeah, so against the KT Twins, he went 5 1/3. He allowed 10 hits, 5 runs, all of them earned, allowed 2 home runs, and he walked a guy, or struck out 6. But here he's playing SK, Samsung, and Han, and those are teams that are just not as good of hitters. You got Samsung 13, SK, which are 11 and 9, and then you got Han, which are 7 and 24, and teams that are hitting like 230, 240, 250. As what I've been doing is I've been going on Korean baseball, and I just look at some of the stats, so I can see some of the shittier teams in the league are teams like Hanwha, SK, and a bunch of letters after that. The Samsung Lions don't hit too well. But once you get past the Latte Giants, these are the 4 shitty hitting teams in the league. Then the neutral hitting teams based on average would be the Kiwoom and Kia Tigers team. And then the 4 good hitting teams for that is the NC Dinos, the Dojin Bears, and the KT Wiz and the LG Twins. And then you look at the things for home runs, and you can just see how the teams that the same 4 bottom end teams have the least amount of homers. RBIs, which is pretty much runs to a small degree, you can get. But at the bottom, you're seeing the shittier teams, and the ones at the top, at the 300 hitting teams, these guys have scored near like 165 to 200, and these guys have scored like Hanwha is just terrible, scoring that of just 94 runs. So because they are that damn bad, Hanwha, that means on a fantasy level, I want some action of this Kayun No, most likely pronounced incorrectly. I mean, shitty record, 1-2 with a 6.58 ERA. But you know what? He's played this team before, and he did very well enough against them. Again, you're going to see a pretty bad game log. But in this game against Han, he pitched 6 innings, allowing 8 hits, only 1 earned run, didn't allow a home run, struck out 4, and he didn't even walk a batter. So he's had good control too. He's had 3 games with 1 walk or none, and the 2 other ones there was 0 or 3. He had this one really bad game against. I don't know. I thought this was innings pitched 2.2. This is fantasy points. See, this is the type of scores that I'm used to seeing. And anyway, thank you for tuning in. Have yourself a great day. Bye bye.